Meet Sarah, a determined young woman with dreams of studying abroad. She had been working tirelessly for months to achieve a high band score in the IELTS exam, the gateway to her dreams. Sarah comes from Ukraine and is a graduate in computer studies. Having a higher intermediate English level, she was hoping to achieve a high band level in IELTS so that she could study for a master's degree in the United Kingdom. After checking with the university that she wanted to attend, Sarah was informed that she would need an overall band of 7 with a minimum of 7.5 in speaking for the IELTS. She did not feel confident about this and decided she would need to study more. She wanted to be confident and decided she wanted a teacher to help and guide her. After researching the internet and YouTube, she found several offering IELTS courses. Looking through the various claims being made by course providers, she found one that claimed to have the highest success rate of any. This was the one, she thought, and paid out around $250 to enroll. Very quickly regretting this decision. It transpired that the course provided access to many documents and videos for 3 months. It was also stated that she needed to work at her own speed with very little support. She had just 6 weeks to prepare for the test and decided to give it her best shot. Trying to work through all the material, much of which she found totally irrelevant to the actual test, and a waste of valuable time. As the test date started coming very near, Sarah was not in the slightest confident that she was showing any improvement as she was getting no constructive feedback. Starting to have sleepless nights, worrying, she was now wishing that she had gone to a dedicated IELTS teacher. Too late for that now, the test date was nearly here. The day finally arrived. Sarah was a bundle of nerves as she entered the testing center. She reminded herself of all the hard work she had put in and hoped for the best. She had watched one video on YouTube advising to arrive at the test center early, happy and full of confidence. Early, yes, confident and happy, that was not what she was feeling now. The first section, the listening test, began. Sarah was confident and answered the initial questions with ease. But then, the audio became faster, and she missed some crucial details. Not realizing the part she was waiting for had already gone, she listened intently, but after a few seconds she realized she had fallen way behind, not knowing now how many questions she had missed. Panic set in. The listening part of the test was going to be a disaster. She tried desperately to regain her composure for the fourth part of listening, but her brain could not settle. The reading section was next. Sarah tried to stay focused, but her mind was racing, and she struggled to finish within the allotted time. She guessed several answers. This was particularly disappointing. She believed reading to be one of her real strengths, but today it was really lacking. Even now, when her concentration should be fully focused on this test, she was scolding herself for not having used a dedicated IELTS teacher. Sarah moved on to the writing section. Her hands were trembling as she tried to compose coherent essays. She worried that her rushed writing might not meet the test standards. She had now accepted the fact that this test was not going well and was not going to get the results she needed. Now, the first part of the 2 productive elements, she was pushing herself to get some benefit from the experience. Finally, the speaking section. Sarah had practiced extensively, but anxiety got the better of her. She stumbled over her words and struggled to express herself clearly. Part 1 of the speaking, she was aware she needed to expand her answers, but she struggled to do that. She had no effective strategy to assist. Part 2, speaking for up to 2 minutes, she ran out of ideas in less than a minute, and then began repeating herself. Part 3, the discussion, seemed to go on forever and her response to some of the questions was not up to her standard. Test over, Sarah made her way back to her apartment. She was dreading meeting her friends, knowing the first questions were going to be about the test. It was going to be several days before she received her results. She tried to review her performance several times. Each time she did, her assessment got better. maybe it was not as bad as she thought. She was quite bitter about having signed up for the IELTS course on YouTube. She thought this had been a con. A lot of money for what? Carry on and teach yourself. She thought about complaining, but considered that might also be a waste of time and effort. What she did decide upon was that she would find a way of warning other test takers about avoiding them. Then the day of the results arrived. Sarah got a notification she could log in to check her results. Her world turned dark again. Sitting in front of her laptop computer, she navigated to the link that she had been given, but sat thinking about her future for some time, before eventually clicking on the link. When the link opened and she saw her results, she could feel tears of disappointment coming from her eyes and the pain deep down in her stomach. Listening. Band 5. Reading. Band 5. Writing. Band 6. Speaking. Band 6. Total band 5.5. Although she was bitterly disappointed, she also felt that the results for writing and speaking were encouraging. If things had not gone wrong in the test so quickly, she knew all would have been much better. Sarah was resolute. She was going to do this test again, but this time she knew exactly how to achieve success. Firstly, she went back to her computer and searched through the teaching websites for an experienced IELTS teacher. She checked both Preply and Italki and found a teacher that was highly recommended, not by themselves like the course providers as before. This time by successful students that could be verified. She booked a trial lesson with 2 teachers and, although both seemed good, one seemed to attract her more. He was charging $20 a lesson and she booked 5 lessons with this teacher. After just 2 lessons, and being mentored as well as taught for the IELTS, Sarah realized this was definitely much more productive than any of the courses she had seen advertised. The online lessons were exactly what she needed. After the first 2 lessons, her tutor encouraged her to apply again for the IELTS test again. For listening and reading she had to practice this by herself, but she did get some valuable tips. In listening, she knew now when she might have missed a key moment to follow the questions and move on quickly. In reading, they discussed the skills of scanning and skimming and exercises that would help. In writing, her teacher gave her exercises for both sections, also grammar exercises that would enhance her performance. Her teacher also corrected these outside the lessons via email. The actual online lessons were concentrated on speaking, the 3 aspects of the test, along with the conversational aspect that helped develop pronunciation. The teacher also gave her ways to improve her active vocabulary. What made the really big difference was that all the work they were doing together was specific to Sarah's ability. 5 weeks after the first test, Sarah was back at the test center. She arrived early and this time she was happy and bursting with confidence. These great improvements were all achieved within the 5 lessons with the online teacher and mentor. Being fully prepared for the IELTS test, Sarah had no problem settling into it right at the beginning. In the listening section, part 4, she did drop 2 answers but she was confident that she had performed well. Similarly in the reading, she knew she had made some errors, but her time management had been excellent so there seemed not so much to worry her. The first part of the academic writing was a process question. This was exactly the type of question she had talked about with her tutor on their last lesson together. That last lesson scheduled for 1 hour had run on to 90 minutes with the tutor helping her right up to the last minute. She was more than happy with her essay. The introduction, 2 body paragraphs and conclusion produced nearly 280 words, which is what she had been aiming for. Finally, the speaking section. This time she was working to a strategy that she had practiced many times, and it made parts 1 and 2 very easy, and she was happy with them. Part 3 also went well. She only used vocabulary that she was comfortable with, and was using answer techniques that varied her grammar, and the use of complex structures. Leaving the test center, Sarah was very happy with her own performance and would update her teacher later on the test. This time after the test, there were no worries. However, Sarah was still waiting anxiously for the results. She was feeling good about it but wanted to know if the official results would match her confidence. If she had a worry, it was the speaking. She needed to get a 7.5 officially, but she did think that they would accept a Band 7. After a few days she got the notification that her results were available. Back sitting at her computer waiting to log into the results, memories returned of the previous occasion. A strange sense of dread engulfed her. Forcing these thoughts from her head, she went through the login process. Listening, Band 7.5. Reading, Band 7.5. Writing, Band 7.5. Speaking, Band 8. Overall, Band 7.5. This was Sarah's story. She is now in the United Kingdom, at Manchester University, studying for a master's degree. Her message is that if you are studying for IELTS and want effective assistance, she would recommend you use an experienced IELTS teacher from one of the online teaching platforms, Italki or Preply. Thank you for watching this video. If you are interested in other motivational videos, then please like and subscribe.